Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, o see them yopo.
Memo akwaba at the bar PENDREAM TV, so make sure say any day they can I best subscribe to channel no click bell. So said the news 2 hours on sabet to me I can wait in NPP kasama for a friend or Dr. Adomako Kissi and a confession be a good morning Ghana so abra no ne Dr. Randiabe atranse kasafa taxes are buying the abeto electricity charges so na Dr. Abe echuma aban no the taxes too much and abana we are buying ono emre bi etwe mo sorry edit a tax then aban buy before mo be back from mo ka say omo ebe movie omo from taxation to production afi de ba ne say na Dr. Adomako agya tum say no kra bo sha omo hye Ghana for no na so dodo nso na sika bia no betimi dia yes aboshe no then teacher say tax na omo pe kwan bi so na omo tax Ghanaians na omo timi nya sika de yes aboshe no na Dr. Randiabe eka say na say na omo nim say sika no na omo hye sa abon ti ekoye we kana we yakakakra men kasa bebre video no a mepese ebekọ na kwanya Dr. Randiabe etoto na no a fede wagi tu mu say no kure oma bite more than they can chew.
I'm actually happy to be here to discuss this very important topic.
Right.
It's a very difficult one to discuss, but you know, as it stands, that is where we are. Now, one thing is very clear, and I need to make this clear to many Ghanaians. Government runs on taxes and loans. It's as simple as that. And I think that in hindsight, and hear me out, I'm speaking for Ghana. In hindsight, we did away with some taxes, and we had bold projects or bold government expenditures, and the two were not in synchrony, because at any point in time when government is taking on major programs, I mean the likes of free SHS, the likes of Agenda 111, the likes of the SHS, the STEM schools that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has built, the big hospitals, including La General, which now I know is ongoing, then the onus is on you to find money for these major projects. So I think that we started off in 2017 removing a lot of taxes or tax burdens on the average Ghanaian, whilst we still had very powerful government projects, including roads. And when you have those two going on, where government expenditure is huge and revenue or mobilization of revenue is reduced, then you have this asynchrony, or as it is, not enough coming in to address your government expansion or expenditure. I can even add the likes of nursing school allowance or training allowance and all these other, let me say, interventions that the NPP thought of were very important at the time. So as it stands now, the truest thing I can say is the fact that government took on many audacious programs or projects without necessarily gathering enough revenue to address those projects. And we are at a point where we've, in a way, chewed more than we can swallow. And without a doubt, we are feeling the brunt of it. And there's only one way out to, as it is, bring ourselves back up. And that is to go back to the revenue generation or mobilization aspect. Now, the other thing with Ghana, and I must say, is that all of our avenues for generating governmental revenue are not efficient. And out of the inefficiencies, sometimes where we can do it efficiently, we overburden. So I would cite the likes of the port. We seem to charge too much at the port because it is one way we can efficiently collect.
It's easier to collect.
It's easier to collect. And the likes of property rates, we are failing, admittedly. So instead of government raising a lot of funds through property rates, so that the average Ghanaian, if even they are in a chamber and hall, can add to government revenue, it's been so difficult. So the government ends up then maybe charging more on the bulbs that are imported. Because when you're in a chamber and hall, you still use a bulb. When you're in a chamber and hall, you still need a meter. So the tax handlers or the tax handles we use end up not being very much in touch with the people because the government then, quote unquote, looks for ways that are a bit more efficient to collect revenue. So let me cite, for instance, I mean, people talk about COVID being still levied. And I know for sure that, listen, when all that money, which is fungible, I mean, one thing in business or accounting is that money is fungible. So it doesn't matter where you are pulling it from. Once it goes into the consolidated fund, then you can use it to offset your indebtedness. So for government, as it stands now, any taxation on the books, to remove it, very difficult. You dare not, actually. And then we are at a point where we need to look for many other ways of gathering revenue. And as it stands now, high on the list of things that people are not happy about, admittedly, is the VAT on electricity. And from an average Ghanaian standpoint, it is painful, it is unfortunate. But if you look at the entirety, it is one of the most, let me say, efficient way that government can take something from very average.
So I asked this question, and if you why I like the video I played is the fact that the vice president, in questioning the thinking, in questioning the
ideation or the thought,
the intellectual capacity,
yes,
of the tax regime
before
he came into office.
Yes.
That's why they say he was wondering what goes
into their thinking.
So questioning their intellectual capacity in appreciating what the issues are. It makes the point that you don't kill
the golden goose,
the businesses.
Yeah.
And that you rather create a conducive environment for them.
So that you can get it from
money.
income tax.
And I'm sure the same thing goes for individuals.
Yes.
And all that. Now, you have a situation where we keep speaking about COVID and Russia-Ukraine war. And that's those are the reasons why our economy is taking a nosedive, is whatever. And therefore, I mean, that explains our state, and that explains
it's not the only
problems.
Thing.
That explains our problems and all that. And if you relate that to tax policy, you get the impression that the country that we are told has suffered all of this is a country minus the people. Because if it is the people who have suffered that, what will go into the thinking for imposing all these things on the same people, unless there is a country without the people that has suffered that. But if it is the same people, it's the same businesses, it's the same individuals, why would we be imposing all of these things? Where have all those principles? Where have all those principles gone to? Because if you take, for example, just electricity.
This is reality hitting us.
Yeah, if you take just electricity.
This is reality.
Look, just electricity.
Yeah.
One, the lifeline has been reduced to 30.
Correct.
So VAT on insurance. So third-party insurance is shot up. You go take an insurance for your property or your vehicle, you have to pay VAT on the premium that you're charged. You know, I mean, how do you expect people to be able to pay? So you're fixated on, we'll be able to collect 5 billion more. But what about those who you are imposing those taxes on?
Yeah.
All the things that the vice president said, do they no longer apply?
They still apply. They still do.
So what's the thinking? What went into the thinking? The thinking. What went into it?
I must say that, you know, admittedly, we are where we are now, and this is what we call reality, or the tires hitting the ground. We are there, and you know, mid-air, all the things you know in the piloting book is there, and then you're in a situation where you have to do counter to what is in the textbook. Let me put it that way, to make sure that you can coast well and land. You know, you might have. I mean, there's an interesting story of a pilot who trained and was very skilled in one of the conditions that led to another plane crashing, and when the engines went off on him in a flight, he was very well equipped to then help the pilot. So we're in a situation where you know, this is not a textbook situation. Reality is that government is broke. Government doesn't have money for the major ambitions, the major projects that government did. And government now, under the agencies of the time, has to find, and I believe that the average Ghanaian will agree with me that, listen, let's squeeze a little so that we can have our lights on. It's better than not squeezing at all and having no light. And that is the situation we're in. It is painful. I said that this is a topic that I am so, you know, I don't know what to say. It's a difficult topic to broker. And I feel the average Ghanaian's situation. But what can I do? Is you said surgical precision. Sometimes you literally have to amputate somebody to save their lives. And in a way, if I'm saying this in a medical way, then we're amputating Ghanaians, you know, available income and what do you call that? Disposable income, so that we can sail and arrive at the shore in one bit. So using surgical precision, we are saving a life by chopping off a little of your disposable income. And I know, and I can say this without a doubt, that clearly, knowing Vice President, he's so pained and sorrowed by the situation, because this is not something that he would have also wished on Ghanaians, I'm very sure. I mean, no government official wishes to burden the average Ghanaian. No government official, myself included. I don't wish to burden. We're supposed to work to relieve people of their plight, of their pain and suffering, but we are in a situation where, for lack of a better word, we took on very bold programs for Ghana, and shall I say that our projections have met reality, and we need to, as it is, and I think that this is reflective in the budget that was read last year, where you could see that Finance Ministry toned down on a lot of capital expenditure, toned down on a lot of bold and audacious, to the extent that last year, besides like the motorway, which we all know we need, besides the, now if you're going to Nsawam, these are things that we all can attest to that are very important for our development in this country. And I believe that considering how audacious we were in the 2021-ish up to date, government and cabinet has been not necessarily lowering their expectation, but being very prudent and measured in taking on, it's almost like me. I mean, I have primaries next week, a week today.
In 8 days.
Today is Friday. Yes. So literally a week tomorrow. And people are saying that, oh, where are my promises? Listen, we're trying to manage what we even have to be able to then even promise more, because I am sitting in and I know that we're in a quagmire, we're in a ditch, let me put it that way, to be very simple about it. And we need to manage it and be stable before then we can.
How's it going? I've read a few punches thrown at you.
Oh, the thing is that, admittedly, you cannot take Dr. Kissi out of the second term of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The challenges of the president, the challenges of the government would impact my performance. So I think that, and I plead with my constituents and my, polling station executives that, listen, the president is very well experienced and he has not had it easy. How much more Kissi, Kwame Ahe, how much I have, nothing I get. So I'll plead with them to be mindful of the fact that, the nation as a whole has struggled.